So welcome back guys, let's learn today about grids. Now let's add a grid element to our canvas. For example, if I head over to add element and if I scroll down to the very last, you will see there's one grid element here. Now you can see this grid element is kind of like boxes here. You can have as many boxes as you can. Right now you are in grid edit settings. For example, if I click on this done button, you are out of this edit setting. Now let's see how you can edit the grid. For example, if you click on this button, you can edit the grid here. Otherwise, if you want to go to the settings here, from here in the style section, you have this edit grid button here. This is from where you can add and subtract or edit the settings of the grid. Now, first thing we have to look here is the gap in between these grids. You can totally control that gap. For example, I can increase that gap just with my arrow keys, or I can just simply type here. The gap is now 30. I can make this gap go separately with the column and the rows. For example, if I just want to increase the gap of the columns here, I can just make it 40. And the rows, we can make it like 20. And you can see we can also do that also. You have 4 boxes here. You can have as many boxes as you can, as many rows and columns as you can. For example, if you go to the settings here, in the column section, maybe I can add one more column. Now you have 3 columns here, or maybe 4. Now I can also add more rows here, and I can also remove these rows just by clicking on this delete button, and I can also remove the columns also. For now, I'm just going to keep this row 4 and 4 by 4 grid, and I'll just keep the space to 20 for both, and I'll just click on this done button. Before doing that, I can also show you from here. Also, you can add the columns also and just delete it. Now, let's just see how we can organize our content nicely with the help of grids. Now, for example, we have these 4 cards here. So first, what I'm going to do, I'll just pick the first card here and drag and drop this card inside the grid. You can see that this first element is taking the first place in the 4-section grid, okay, and is taking the entire space. If I put the second card inside the grid, it's just going to automatically take the space of the very next column. Now, if I do this with the third card, you can see it's going to take the very next space. So if I put this here, you can see the third card is here, and the fourth card. Okay, of the fourth card, oh sorry, I have this different setting here. So for example, now we have 4 grid columns. Okay, now let's see the other settings of the grid. I want this first card to take the both columns space. I can surely do that. Let's just click on the first card. There are 2 ways to do that. One is manually. For example, if I click on this first card, and on the right side, if you come to the grid child setting, you have this column span and the row span. The column span is how many columns that specific column is going to occupy. For example, I just make it the 2 one. And how many rows is going to occupy, I just keep it to 1. Now you can see that we can manipulate this grid in many ways. Now after this, for the last card, what I can do is I can just place this card into the last column and keep this one empty. I can surely do that, but with the manual settings. If I click on the last card and on the right side in the manual settings, I can change the column and the row arrangement. For example, I want this column to have the second column occupied, not the first one. Now, if I preview this, you can see that how grid view can handle a complex content and organize it in a dynamic way with responsiveness. For example, if I preview this one, and if I just drag and drop this one like this, you can see it's going to organize the content in a very nice way. So this is very basics of a grid view. We can do a lot of things with grid view, but this video was just to explain you about the real basics and how to use a grid view. See you in the next video.